There's Jamar Chase, there's JJ, and then it's Garrett Wilson.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Take a lap.
Smitty, how are you going to put Garrett Wilson ahead of Tyreek Hill? How are you going to put him ahead of other players? No one's saying you draft Garrett Wilson ahead of Tyreek Hill. No one's telling you to draft Garrett Wilson ahead of Cooper Kupp. What I'm telling you is that if you draft Garrett Wilson at number 11, 12, 13, 14 overall, depending on what kind of league you're in, depending on how many grandmas are in your league, you got a lot of Gmas in your fantasy league, you might get away with Garrett Wilson at 13 or 14 overall. If you're drafting with a bunch of sharks, you might have to take him 10. You might even have to take him 9. Garrett Wilson in the first round? If you don't think Garrett Wilson's worthy of 9 or 10 overall, you literally just walked right back into fantasy football preparation. Congrats and welcome back. You clearly haven't best ball drafted with us at Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty, where they match up to $100 in your first deposit. You clearly haven't been paying attention all offseason long. You're a last second Landon, coming in and saying, hey, what's going on here? You can spot a person from a mile away that hasn't paid attention all off season long, and they come stumbling in late
Landon,
and they say something as dumb as Garrett Wilson in the first round? Question mark. Are we really liking that? Question mark. Get out of here. Garrett Wilson is a lock in the first round. And if you're drafting on ESPN right now doing mock drafts and you see Garrett Wilson in round number 2, get ready for a rude awakening once you get into an actual live draft. You're playing with dumb ADP data. Olave's in the 4th round in ESPN. He's a second rounder. Stop playing around with dumb ADP data that won't help you on draft day. Unless you're drafting with a bunch of grandmas on ESPN, then have at it. Go attack. Go dominate. This guy, Garrett Wilson, could finish as wide receiver 3 overall. He could dance in the 1 to 2 range all season long. This guy can have a cup of coffee with JJ and Jamar Chase all year long. I'm not saying he necessarily finishes above both those guys. I think you expect both those guys to finish ahead of Garrett Wilson. I think you need to be open-minded to maybe him being the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football. You need to at least be open-minded, but does that mean you invest at wide receiver 1 value? No, it does not, Bob. Understand the words
coming out of my mouth
right now. Garrett Wilson could be wide receiver 1. He's certainly in the cards for wide receiver number 3. Be open-minded that what you're buying at 10, 11, 12 actually can double or triple in value. Yes, you can have a steal in the top 12, contrary to what Bob might tell you, or these Bob analysts out there that say there's no value in round 1. You're reaching at a ceiling every time you draft somebody in the top 12. Not true. Bijan was a steal at 12. Remember when we said take Bijan at 10, 11, 12? People laughed at us. Where's everybody now? We're conducting the train and everybody's in the caboose in the back. We're not letting anybody in the front car. If you didn't like Bijan where we liked him, when we liked him, you're not getting your Bijan card back. I'm revoking your Bijan card. You're no longer allowed to have it. You're in the caboose if we even let you on the train at all. The same goes for Garrett Wilson. He's a top 1 to 5 wide receiver, a guy you expect to be no higher than 3, a guy you draft where he's ranked no higher than 5, and a guy that can be 1 to 5 in value. His worst case scenario is a 7 to 10 wide receiver. His best case scenario is 1 to 5. You're drafting him right in the middle at wide receiver number 5. Actually, strike that. You're drafting him at number 5 in a worst case scenario. Like if you can't trade out of your draft slot and you're sitting there at 10 or 11, you're taking him after JJ and Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill are off the board. You would take him at wide receiver number 5, unless you want to take Diggs, which there's nothing wrong with that. But look at the ADP data. The ADP data tells us that it's JJ, Jamar, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, then Garrett Wilson. He's wide receiver number 8. You are crushing your league. This guy can finish number 3. That means he can triple in value all the way up to where Tyreek Hill is sitting at the end of the year. That's where he could be. And he's going to hang out in the Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Diggs territory almost no matter what, in my mind, as long as he stays healthy. His connection with Aaron Rodgers is on point. That ADP is crazy. Look at this. Let's pull it up one more time. Look at where you can get Garrett Wilson. He's falling. He's dropping. Why in the hell is Devontae Adams above him when he's got Jimmy Garoppolo throwing him the football, or maybe not even throwing him the football, maybe throwing little dirt passes, little hospital balls? There's no way Adams returns this value. Not in the current situation. But let me tell you the secret to Garrett Wilson and what the secret sauce is here, because I don't think people are talking enough about why one of the big components as to why this guy is going to be a top 1 to 5 wide receiver in 2023. Defense. This guy plays against the best defense in practice every single day. This guy goes up against Sauce Gardner every single day. Aaron Rodgers going up against Sauce Gardner against the second or maybe even the number 1 defense in the National Football League every single day. I don't think that gets enough coverage. I don't think people realize that Garrett Wilson's got a better chance of getting better every single day and maturing and improving his skills than any wide receiver in the National Football League. This guy is going up against arguably the best cornerback, and they're like best friends. So if you don't think that Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner are constantly helping each other, you're crazy. This guy gets to go up against Sauce Gardner in practice and whenever he wants, every day. Sauce Gardner learns from him. They help each other back and forth, both of which help Aaron Rodgers. If people think Aaron Rodgers is going to lose it a little bit, skill set wise, intelligence wise, walking into this season because he's older, no. Aaron Rodgers could be at his absolute peak, going against this defense, keeping him fresh. Think about it like when you were lifting weights at some point in your life. At some point in your life, you had to go into the gym and get a consistent pump with a bunch of people that were bigger and stronger than you, and you couldn't lift what they were lifting. If you sit down on a bench press and try and bench something that's way out of your league, and you're trying to keep up with guys that are stronger than you, you're going to improve at a much faster rate than they are. You're going to get to their level much quicker than they will in equivalent fashion get to a similar level above them. You are working harder as you lift the same weights that these bigger guys lift, and even though you're doing bad at the beginning, you catch up to them, and all of a sudden you're all lifting the same weight. Think of that in terms of Garrett Wilson. He's going up against the best defense in the league. He will improve quicker than anybody in the National Football League. He will mature faster than any of the sophomore wide receivers. He's going to be light years ahead of all the sophomore wide receivers that we already have come to love, appreciate as Moon Men.
The Moon Men, dropping loads in outer space.
Space Monsters.
Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Sauce Gardner, cascading effect of improvement across the board. This guy will be a top, I don't even want to say 3 to 5. I want to give him the respect and possibility he deserves. Garrett Wilson is going to be a top 1 to 5 wide receiver in 2023. Get on board now. I'm not even letting anybody getting on board now in the front cart of the train that we're conducting, that I'm conducting with my people, my early adopters of Garrett Wilson. But you can get in a middle car now, maybe the caboose, but you are not getting on this train if you try and jump on it a month from now, 2 weeks from now. This is the final stop.
All aboard.
Garrett Wilson season, baby. Garrett Wilson, you are Smitty approved in the top 5 wide receivers in 2023. In the top 1 to 5 wide receivers in 2023. Get Garrett Wilson.
You've just been Smitty approved.
And let's go through a little quick scenario of players you can accumulate with Garrett Wilson and make a fire team. Let's throw Jahmyr Gibbs right here. Let's throw Joe Burrow right here. Let's throw Chris Olave right here. I absolutely love this beginning of a team right here. Garrett Wilson, Olave, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Joe Burrow. And then imagine somehow Drake London falling to 5. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. Kadarius Toney in 6 or 7. Swift in 6 or 7. Watson in 4. Sometimes Joe Burrow falls to 5. He probably won't fall to the bottom of 5. Sometimes he does in a rare occasion, but he falls to the 5.1, 5.2 on many occasions on Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. So understand that. But I mean, we're looking at this guy, Garrett Wilson, in a roster construction, just looking beautifully placed as that low first round pick. And something like this is straight glory as well. Let's say you go Garrett Wilson in 1, you go Breece Hall in 2, even if it's like semi-early 2. You go Jahmyr Gibbs in 3, you go Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow in 4. You go Kenneth Walker in 4. Sometimes he falls to the top of 5. You pull off something like this. Drake London, Gibbs, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Kadarius Toney, and you get Zach Charbonnet around 8 8, and whatever in round 7. This right here is straight glory. And let's say you're not so lucky that people sleeping on Kenneth Walker that much. He does fall there. He does. On Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. Link in description where we draft every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If you want to get in on those drafts, click that link and get signed up ahead of time so you're ready to go when I say jump in, okay? Otherwise, you're not getting in. But we look at this situation here and we say, okay, maybe we get him here. Sometimes you do, but let's say we force him here. This right here is straight fire. And maybe you don't want to have the 3 running backs and the 1 wide receiver, and then that's when the Chris Olave in round 2 comes into play. This is phenomenal. This is a team I absolutely love. And let's do a version without Gibbs. You can do London here. You can do Watson here, Joe Burrow right here. I just like Gibbs. I don't want to take Gibbs out of these scenarios. And you could even do something where you get this right here, where Fields is falling into round 5 because Lamar's been climbing. That's why Burrow's falling too. You could walk out with this. You could walk out with Trevor Lawrence in round 6 sometimes, and you can crush all these approaches. And this does not set you back having Garrett Wilson as your number 1 first round player, first drafted player. Glory. Smitty approved.
You've just been Smitty approved.
Get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com for all your year-round rankings. When I say year-round, I mean 365 people. I mean in March, they're totally updated. February and June, July, August. Obviously, this is not a draft kit. This draft kits are for people that don't have year-round fantasy football websites, okay? Trade calculators, bold predictions, one-on-one text advice, video courses, thefantasyfootballshow.com. Get you some fantasy football content, baby, and go dominate your league. Now go draft this man. Go draft him now. Do it live. Top 1 to 5 wide receiver in 2023. Get some. Learn about it. Garrett Wilson, top 5. Learn about it. Now get out of here.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.